The lock clicked once, soft and final, and my stepmother didn't look back at me. "My name is Ethan Hale, I'm 34. How do you grieve a man while realizing he planned your erasure with the same calm handwriting he used to sign birthday cards?" The hallway outside the conference room still smelled like lilies and cheap coffee. Funeral leftovers. My stepbrothers leaned against the wall, black suits wrinkled at the elbows, whispering like this was a break between classes. One of them caught my eye and smiled, quick, sharp, practiced. The kind of smile you give someone you've already beaten. Inside the room, the lawyer slid folders across polished wood. Not toward me. Past me. Paper brushed my sleeve like an apology that didn't mean anything. My stepmother's heels tapped twice as she stood, already gathering her purse. "Business first. Always. Your father believed in clean transitions," the lawyer said, voice smooth, rehearsed. Clean. That word echoed. No one said my name again. No one asked if I wanted to sit. I stared at the glass cabinet at the end of the room. Inside it sat my father's old brass desk key, mounted like a relic. We'd argued about that key once, who really kept things running when no one was watching. The chair beside me creaked, empty but expectant, like it was waiting for me to disappear. That was the moment it settled in, not anger yet, not revenge, just a cold, quiet understanding. They thought the story was over. The room emptied in stages, like a theater after the credits roll. Shoes first. Then voices. Then intention. I stayed seated. The leather chair held my weight longer than anyone else wanted it to. The lawyer cleared his throat, stacked papers that no longer included me, and avoided my eyes. He smelled faintly of mint and something nervous. "I'm sorry," he said, "too late to matter." I nodded, because nodding was easier than speaking. When I stood, the brass key in the cabinet caught the light again. For a second, I saw my father's hands, oil-stained, steady, placing it there years ago. "You don't give keys to people who only show up for profits," he'd said once. I remembered that clearly. I didn't remember forgiveness. At the reception hall downstairs, my stepmother laughed. Not loudly. Controlled. She held court near the bar, her sons flanking her like reflections. When she noticed me, her laughter didn't stop, it narrowed. "Take care, Ethan," she said. A hand on my arm. Cold. Performative. "You'll land somewhere." One of the brothers added, "Guess the business needed continuity." I tasted metal. Or maybe that was grief. Outside, rain misted the pavement. I didn't open my umbrella. I stood there, suit soaking, watching the building that still bore my father's name. The letters looked heavier now. Like they knew something. In my pocket, my phone vibrated. Not condolences. A bank notification. Routine. Boring. I unlocked the screen, and felt the silence shift. The notification wasn't urgent. That was the strange part. Just a standard alert from an account I hadn't touched in months. I stared at the screen while rain traced thin lines down the glass doors behind me. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake, some delayed echo from a life I'd already been written out of. I swiped. Numbers settled into place. Familiar. Too familiar. My father had trusted me with certain things. Not titles. Not ceremonies. Quiet responsibilities. Years ago, when the business needed expansion capital, he'd asked me to help structure it. "Temporary," he said. "Just until the cash flow evens out." His voice had been tired that night. Honest in a way men get when they're afraid of failing. I hadn't thought about those documents in a long time. Inside the hall, laughter swelled, then broke into applause. Someone had raised a glass. I imagined the brass key again, heavy in a palm, turning smoothly in a lock that still worked because someone maintained it. Another vibration. Then another. I scrolled slowly. Loan references. Guarantees. My name sat there in plain text, quiet, uncelebrated, unmistakable. No alerts for them. No notifications for the heirs. A man brushed past me, muttering an apology. The door swung shut, muting the noise inside. Silence rushed in to fill the space, thick and deliberate. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and finally opened my umbrella. Rain sounded different when you understood what was holding the building up. The umbrella opened with a dull snap, the sound too loud for how quiet I felt. I walked instead of driving. Past the parking lot. Past the florist packing unsold reeds into plastic bins. My shoes soaked through, and every step made a soft, honest sound against the pavement. The kind you can't fake. At the corner, I stopped. Took the phone out again. My thumb hovered, not shaking. Calm as a texture when it finally arrives, smooth, almost polite. I pulled up the loan documents. Not summaries. Originals. My father's handwriting appeared in the margins of one scan, crooked and rushed. Short-term bridge. We'll fix this next quarter. He'd circled my name once, heavy ink, as if reminding himself who was actually standing there. No one else had signed as guarantor. A memory slipped in, uninvited. My stepmother in the kitchen years ago, tapping ash into the sink. "You're too cautious," she'd said. "Real growth needs risk." One of her sons laughed from the doorway. A dialogue that meant nothing then. Everything now. The chair in my apartment waited when I got home, angled toward the window. I didn't turn on the lights. The city hummed outside, cars, distant sirens, a life continuing without permission. I set the brass key on the table. I don't remember taking it. I opened my laptop. The laptop fan whispered like it was sharing a secret. I logged in. Credentials accepted without ceremony. The portal loaded slowly, each second stretching thin. When the dashboard finally appeared, the numbers didn't glare back at me, they sat there, patient. Almost courteous. 3 active loans. Large. Structured cleanly. Too cleanly. The business looked healthy from the outside because debt is quiet when it's fed on time. I imagined my stepbrothers touring the office that morning. Hands in pockets. Chairs rolling back under unfamiliar weight. One of them saying, "Dad built something solid." The other nodding, already thinking about upgrades. A message popped up in the corner of the screen, "Hey, you okay after today?" It was Mara. An old friend. A line that existed just to prove the world still noticed me. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a new tab. Collections firms. Reputable ones. The kind that wore politeness like a tailored suit. I filled out a contact form with steady hands. Attached documents. Scans. Proof. There was a pause after I hit send. Not fear. Not excitement. Clarity. Outside, a truck backfired. Somewhere a neighbor laughed. Ordinary sounds. I closed the laptop and sat back. The chair creaked again, satisfied now, like it knew why it was here. The reply came faster than I expected. Professional. Polite. A man named Colin who used full sentences and didn't ask why. He asked when. He asked how soon. His emails smelled like clean paper and leverage. I read them twice, listening to the refrigerator hum behind me. That low, steady sound felt grounding. Like proof that systems worked when you maintained them. The next morning, I walked past the office building again. Didn't go in. Just stood across the street. Glass reflected the sky, pale and innocent. Inside, they were probably rearranging furniture. Cleaning desks. Touching things that weren't theirs yet. My phone buzzed. A voicemail notification. My stepmother. I didn't play it. Instead, I forwarded the finalized sale agreement. Digital signature. Timestamped. Legal. The loans moved quietly, like furniture being removed from a house while the owners slept upstairs. A memory surfaced, my father teaching me how to listen for problems before they announced themselves. If something's too quiet, he'd said, tightening a bolt, it's usually under pressure. Across the street, someone opened a window on the third floor. Laughter spilled out. Then stopped. I put the phone back in my pocket and walked away, leaving the building to its silence. The silence didn't last. It never does. My phone rang while I was making coffee. The kettle screamed, sharp and offended, and I let it go on too long. When I finally answered, there was breathing on the other end, fast, controlled, pretending not to be panic. "Ethan," my stepmother said. My name sounded misplaced in her mouth. "We need to talk." I turned the stove off. The sudden quiet felt deliberate. Earned. "There's been a misunderstanding," she continued. Papers shuffled. I could hear it, the sound of a story being rearranged in real time. Some aggressive firm is calling. About loans. They're saying things that don't make sense. In the background, one of my stepbrothers snapped, "Tell him to fix it." A whisper meant to be private. It never is. I looked at the brass key on the counter. It caught the morning light, dull now, used. I rolled it between my fingers, felt its weight press into my skin. "I'm sure it makes sense to someone," I said. A pause. Then, softer, "Your father wouldn't have wanted this." That almost worked. I hung up without explaining. Outside, a car alarm started, then cut off abruptly. The world correcting itself. I picked up my mug, finally drank the coffee. Bitter. Grounding. They were just beginning to read the fine print. The collections firm never raised their voice. They didn't need to. Weeks later, I passed the building again. Same glass. Same letters. Different posture. A notice sat by the entrance, "Temporary hours, restructuring underway." Inside, desks were half cleared. Plants wilting. The place smelled like cardboard and surrender. I didn't go in. Mara finally got a reply from me. "I'm okay now." That was all. It was true in a way that didn't ask for witnesses. There was one last voicemail I listened to. Not pleading. Not anger. Just my stepmother, tired, asking if I knew where my father kept certain documents. Her voice cracked on his name. For the first time, she sounded like someone standing in a house that no longer answered back. I placed the brass key on a park bench and walked away. It wasn't mine to keep anymore. Symbols only matter until you understand them. What they inherited wasn't punishment. It was truth, quiet, contractual, unavoidable. The kind my father believed in, even if he never said it out loud. I didn't win anything back. I just stopped carrying what was never meant to be mine.